All right, so I'm almost up here. Just got a couple more things I got to share out to make people aware. I'll be up in a very quick second. TikTok likes to run things a little bit differently. So, echoing really bad in my own ear, which drives me crazy. So as soon as I get that up and running in a moment here, it did not like what I was trying as far as changing screens. So, but I don't want to restart this whole endeavor here, so just bear with me a moment while I work on this. Definitely does heat the phone up, we'll say that. All right. But we'll just go straight off the bat here with that and go that way. Okay, so I think everything's up and I think everything's good. I think the audio is okay. The only last one I have is this screen here, which makes it a little bit easier to pay attention to what's going on with TikTok. Just because. So, last couple days, I had issues with this whole setup. The laptop was overheating, so every single time that I tried to boot stuff up and go live, the laptop wasn't having it. It was just like, nope, we're not doing this. And decided to throttle itself, and then TikTok was giving me all kinds of alerts and warnings about the processor being throttled and dropping frame rates, and it was a complete, absolute mess. So that's done. Fans are still going like crazy, but it should be okay, I think, at this point. And then the other thing that I did was I tried to hardwire the TikTok other phone camera instead of having it run through the Wi-Fi to kind of help with the bit rate, the load on my network. This room is in a different corner of the house where you know, it's it's far away from any of my nodes, and I can't run a hard Ethernet cable to this room, so I'm relying on Wi-Fi repeaters and things like that to get this done, which when you consider the amount of throughput that's running through right now, it's probably actually not too bad. If I pull up on here and just take a quick peek at what I'm pulling across it, you know, between the two streams, because it's on YouTube and on TikTok at the same time right now. So it looks like it's holding its own pretty good. I did want to test it earlier when she was in the office gaming to see if it could sustain both at the same time, but hiccups and looking for an adapter put me behind. So here we are at this point. I'm continuing this 8.4D kit is what I'm still working on. So when I ended the other day, actually quite a few days ago, this is where I was at. So we're gonna go on from this point and then let's see what we can figure out from that point going forward. Tomorrow, I intend to, assuming my toolkit arrives on time from MIP, it's this same set that I showed you guys the last time that I was up, but it's a full kit that's intended specifically for the RC10T, all the gold pan cars, all the re-release cars. It has the more specific, proper tools for all of those different things, so that I'm not screwing around trying to mess with my automotive tools and the equivalent automotive tools that I own to try and make things fit. The other thing that I have now that also came in the mail from Yeah Racing and J Concepts is the remainder of the pieces that I was waiting for to do the front end of the 10T in more of a race appropriate setup for reliability and durability to be able to handle the tracks better. But those are these things here. Pull you guys down a little bit. Again, if you are on TikTok, hey Connor, if you are on TikTok, the YouTube page is where you can see this camera's feed a lot better for like more of a close-up of what I'm actually having here. Every once in a while, I'll throw things towards, you know, the TikTok feed, but realistically, the YouTube one is more of what I concentrate on. The TikTok lives are great, but the content basically disappears as soon as the live ends, which is not really what I'm looking for. So, go back into here. These MIPs are still MIPs for more modern cars. I got these a while ago from Beachline when I was up there because my 2mm Associated was just so worn out, and it was just used. They're wear and tear items, they wear out. So that reached a point where it was just starting to strip stuff. And I was there, and everybody always says it, but practice what you preach. If you're at a shop and you can buy stuff from your local hobby shop while you're at the track, instead of buying it online or instead of buying it from you know, the manufacturer directly, you'll get it from the local hobby shop and keep these guys in business, keep these tracks up and running, because without the trucks for us to race at, you're stuck. You can bash around. Bashing is fun, but there's something to be said for going to an actual track and racing against people and competing. Some of these national events, case in point, the event that's coming up in Las Vegas in a couple weeks, massive, huge. People are getting on airplanes from all over the world to come to this thing. If you're in the Las Vegas area or within what you consider reasonable driving distance and you want to go. Absolutely go. I'll throw this up real quick just so you guys can get a kind of a little quick rundown of what they're doing for that. And I'm putting updates up on my page for this as they come up. So right now, and again, if you're on TikTok, if you go over to the YouTube or over to the website, you can look at this stuff or follow along, because I'll be changing the screens around as we go. I'm trying not to say as much as I do. Next month, we've gone through the driver's list. They're still working on it, still changing some things around. I admittedly made a mistake, so hopefully they can fix that and accommodate my screw up. If not, it is what it is. But that's basically, you got a lot of entries going on right now. It's 508 entries right now with 310 drivers. I think a lot of those, or some of them at least, the 508, I think the cap was 500, so 508, they said there's a waiting list, which doesn't surprise me. This is massive. You've even got, you know, a lot of high profile guys from classic RC races. If you've been to the races a long time ago, if you're my age and you were racing when you were a kid, you know some of these more famous guys that are really, really good at what they do and were really, really good back in the day. They know their stuff, they know these cars really well, and it should be a sight to see. Even the track is being done in a more classic style, so it won't be that hard-packed clay that you see so much these days when you go to shops and to tracks and things like that, where, you know, we'll run on these not very aggressive tread pattern tires. It's really a very flat tread to grip the clay and the sugared track material. But this time, to stay within the authenticity of the vintage race, they're doing a very loose style track. So the spike treads and things that are more aggressive are going to be what's called for on this one. So this here, if I go back to my main thing here, this here you're looking at is what the RC10T came with for the rears. It's big, it's aggressive, it's extremely knobby. I don't think this is the ticket for it. This is a little bit still too aggressive. It might be, we'll find out. But just in case, I have two other options that I'm working with, and I'm just gonna pick between one or the other after I start messing around. I, haven't raced an RC10 in a long time. I have a massive amount of kits underneath me here to go through, but I basically settled on these two to choose from. So we've got, they're both by J Concepts. One's their Goosebumps tire, and then the other one is their paddle pin. And this one is extremely sticky. I'm actually kind of surprised at how sticky it is. If I take its twin, the tire will actually, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but they stick. They actually really stick. So that should be interesting to see. Lately, I've just been running a lot of carpet up at Beachline. If you're from Florida, Beachline is about an hour away from me towards the coast. I live in the middle of Florida. And I've been running carpet for the last several times that I've been out. So going back to dirt and trying to transition into two-wheel drive dirt, it should be interesting to figure out. So anywho, hello to everybody that's kind of wandering in and wandering out. I'm building a B8 4D version. So this is the dirt version of Team Associated's new B8 four-wheel drive buggy. I haven't gotten very far, but we'll see how far I can get in the next couple hours before I have to go check out and go back to sleep before going to work here. So I'll try to refresh my memory exactly where I was. Let's see here. I think I was running the back. So yeah, we're about right here on this build. If anybody has any questions or anything between the two, feel free to ask as I go about figuring this out. So let's see, 9819 pivot balls, 3x24. So 3x24. That was on my 2. I'm going to get a little crossed up because Associated uses the blue for their 2mm, MIP uses a red. So I'm like, in my brain, I'm looking for my blue wrench, but it's obviously not because these are my MIPs. So I'm hoping this one goes in a lot smoother than the other one. It's kind of, I'm a little bit off center here because the rails are kind of getting in the way of the screws. So I almost wish that I would have done the center part before this in the instructions, just because it's kind of put me at a weird angle with the driver that I have. It's not a huge deal, but I feel like they could have done it the other way around. But that's all right. This one, I kind of mentioned this in the last live several days ago. This one my girlfriend actually bought for me. So kudos and shout out to her for that one. I have a 7.4.2 was the last one. So it's been a little while since I've upgraded the four-wheel drive dirt chassis. It'll be interesting to see what stuff they've changed. I've read through what they've changed a little bit, but it's different when you actually have it in front of you and start putting it together.
3, 2, 1.
3x10, that's H. I'm the type of person who I will use these cheat sheets, but at the same time, I'm still going to get out my calipers because I don't always trust the cheat sheets to the full degree. Well, sometimes it's just easier to just use the calipers and not even bother with the cheat sheet. So that's an 11, so then these are my 10s probably. Let's see. 3x8. Where are my 10s? Might have that a little bit too high. I'm not sure. There's supposed to be these SHs. I feel like I'm missing something. That's one. And that's the second one. Let's go this way with this. Yeah, it's there. It just doesn't want to play nice. So not that one either. There we go. Try and bring this way a little bit. So wash a 2mm. That's a 2. And that's a 2. So we're on that. Still missing where these 3x10s are at. I want to say here and here. So we'll go with that. Page 5. So now it's going to need me to do bag 1, step 4, which is going to be this bag here, which is one of the inset bags from bag 4 and the plethora that it contains. So, and now because I've shifted servo types, because I'm going to try and use a different radio system than what I've been using, I may have to try and fit for that different servo. Because I'm not sure if Spectrum and Futaba use the same number of same gear number for their servos or not, but we'll figure that out. So let's see. So we've got this. We've got this whole arrangement here with the servo horn. It's interesting, this one they use a kind of a hook-shaped servo mount, which is a little bit different than what I'm used to. So that should be cool. But it looks like get one of my monsters out here. They are a little big, but Spectrum doesn't really have a massive line. And I know, before I get a bunch of hate in the comments, I know that Spectrum and Horizon took over Spectrum, and people are kind of always sore at Horizon for what they've done to a couple different brands. I haven't had any personal issues with them myself as of yet, but what can I to say. Now, I will do this, though, before I put this thing in here. I did look up the spec sheets and try to get an idea of what I was working with, just because I wanted to try their radio systems out, just for the sake of argument. I still have my 7PX. This IX SR is going to be what I'm going to try to see if how it works out and see how it runs. They did just update this transmitter. I think it's mostly just a firmware update, though. I don't think really that much in the way of internals changed, but I guess it's jury's still out on that. I gotta see other people that get their hands on the new one. I don't have access to the new one, so I would hope that they've upgraded the processor at least to be a little bit quicker than what this currently has. It does take a little while to boot up. Once it boots up, it's fine. It is rather heavy, and I guess the other thing that I would say is, whereas on the Futabas and most other transmitters, you can easily hot swap the batteries on those. This, you're taking screws out of the bottom and then trying to manipulate things to change a battery out if you're running that much. Now, runtime on this might be fine to where you don't have to do anything, and it does have a charge port built into the back, which they, for some reason, and I guess kudos to them on this, they included a charge cable for this that has a magnet on it. I guess so that if you bump the thing or something, you don't wind up pulling your transmitter off your table. So this actually has, you know, a magnetic release on it. Like I'm sure you've seen on, you know, TikTok Shop, and you've seen it on all the different websites, places you can buy ones that have magnetic points on them. So I like that. The only thing is trying to get this magnetic end back out of the charger once it's in there is kind of a pain. You kind of need needle nose pliers almost to get it out of the opening. So if you are at a track and you only bring this cable with you and you lose this end, you're SOL basically. And I don't know if it doesn't. I don't think these ends are universal, because this one has a 4-pin on it. I've seen other ones that have 8 or 10. I'm guessing this is strictly just a charging cable. It won't do data. Who knows? But it is kind of nice to be able to plug this end into the Spectrum charger and have the Spectrum charger top up the transmitter, obviously when the charger's not charging batteries. The S2200 Spectrum charger will not charge from its USB port while it's charging batteries, which to me is kind of a little bit of an oversight, an overlook, what have you. So what I have here is a Spectrum S6295. It's a beefy sucker. Spectrum does kind of list it for, at least on their box. The spec sheet's a little bit different on their website, but the box says 8th scale. This is obviously a 10th scale. And then if, you know, that doesn't work out, I do have a Futaba TV700, which is also a little bit big for a 10th scale. I think in my other car, just to double check myself. I have so many cars, it's hard to keep track sometimes of what is running inside what. Let's see here. Yeah, this one has a CT500 in it, so that's a little bit different. This one is all completely 100% reedy and Futaba. I don't know if you guys pronounce it Futaba. Some people pronounce it like that. I kind of pronounce it. I've always pronounced it Futaba, so that's kind of what I do. But a couple of things are already starting to change on the layout and how different things are done as far as the front and the rear between the two. So it's interesting so far. They did make some changes clearly between the two cars in different areas. You can't really see too much because this one's obviously fully loaded with stuff in it, and then the other one's not. And I have a body protector on the bottom of this one, so you really can't see anyway. But put this back away. Get back to that. Now, as far as weight goes between the two, if I take the futaba out and I put both of them on my scale over here, it can kind of give you a weight difference between the two. So I'll change my mode, 4 grams. I'll take my shock tower off of here. So the futaba is 74 grams, according to that. And the spectrum is 74. So they both weigh exactly the same. Despite the fact that, you know, granted the futaba has its lead attached to it, but the futaba's lead is permanently attached, which was something that I looked at the spectrum and I said, I think I kind of want to try this out because you have to open this up if you want to change this lead. Whereas the spectrum, you basically are just unplug and replug and you're basically set. So it's going to be a test it and see if it runs and see if it works well. If it doesn't work well, then I'll go back to the standard. But I have a whole bunch of these in my cases for the different purposes and what have you. And then of course, you know, they're gonna include the cable to start with. So it should be in the bottom here. Yeah, they give you everything. They're gonna give you the different servo arms and of course stickers and things like that. So in the interest of my sanity, you know, the cable's not going to weigh much. Yeah, it doesn't even come up. So it's 74. Kind of a short cable, but on this one it shouldn't be a problem. So there you go with the cables. Here's an interesting little tidbit. Unless we're going to bias to one side or the other. I was about to say they didn't label it, so I'm wondering if these can be inserted either way, because if they can, that would be terrible. Nope, you can only put it in one way. Because there's no labeling on the edge of this to show you a signal and positive and negative and stuff like that. So there you go in that. Just kind of have to trust that it's in there, I suppose. There's no satisfying click or notch. It's just kind of in there. So that's that. Let's see. So they don't list it for which horn to use. I know these are all different. Numbers 24, 23, and 25. Let's see if Spectrum has a little thing in there to say which T it actually is. 23 teeth. So then we're going to grab the 23 off of here. And that'll be that. And these will be extras that for some reason I will hold on to but never use. They'll just kind of sit in my pile with everything else. I don't know why I do that. I just have a habit of holding on to spare parts. I really need to do something about that. This extra reinforcing ring on the horn. Put this out of the way for now. because we're not really messing with anything like that at the moment. I need the 8mm ball stud, which should be, yeah, that's your 6. So then will this be the 8? Yeah, that's your 8. Now the weird thing is they're marking thread lock for this even though it's going into here, but I'm guessing that's because they're talking about the servo threads, which makes sense. And this needs a 2mm as well. No frame drops, good. I'm actually still somewhat surprised. Now that I've corrected the overheating issue on this laptop, it's able to do simultaneous streams on YouTube with the graphics and everything, and TikTok over my Wi-Fi without dropping any frames. It's not running crazy high resolution, but it's not bad. So now I need a 3x6B. This might be too long. Yeah, that's way too big. Here's my 3x6. I think. I always get concerned about compatibility with screws going into servos, and if anybody noticed on my other my post on TikTok where my 2-wheel drive carpet buggy, this specific screw into my servo backed out enough, but not enough for this piece to pop off the servo horn. It just backed out just enough to where it made the steering extremely loose, and that was a mess. So they want it that way, and then we're doing that. So I think I'm going to set that off to the side, and I'm going to attach this to the actual servo at this point before I go pinching myself in other ways here. And these are going to be the 3x8s LPs, which are the other ones that I had over here. 1, 2, and 3. This car is actually only holding 1 screw on the horn side of the servo, and then 2 screws on the opposite side, which is kind of odd for me. It's all right. Don't question the designers. Just build the car and race the car, man. No, Associated knows what they're doing. They've been around in this for a long time. The vast majority of my cars are Associated. I did buy some Locies here and there before Horizon acquired them, but we don't talk about that. I have 1 Losi still in my fleet, I guess is the word I'm going to use. And that is a graphite stadium truck from a long time ago. And when I say a long time ago, I mean a long. I'm actually half wondering if I should remove these little cushions from the servo. Spectrum has installed these little rubber grommets, and I'm not sure if I want them there. I don't think I do, because Associated doesn't use them. Now, they have a little metal insert with the rubber grommet, but the last thing that I need is to have any kind of extra flex in my steering. So let me see if they even will come out, or if... Yeah, I don't think they're going to come out. I think those are pressed in there permanently. It's difficult to say. It's one of those you don't want to force it because you don't want to break the edge of the servo, but at the same time, I don't really know if I want those there. Will you comply? Any thoughts from anybody with regard to these little ends that Spectrum puts on their servos? Maybe it's going to come out. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot better without this little piece that they decided to put inside. It is one of those things where once you take them out, it does damage it, it looks like. So it's kind of a one-way street with these, but I don't think I need that extra cushioning. So I'm going to take this back out. So that one I could take out without damaging it. They're just really loose and really floppy for my liking. I don't... Loose and floppy doesn't get you good lap times. I'm not sure why they're there. It's probably for a different application, but I don't want them. A couple people going back and forth here. Everybody, if you want to see the overhead view again, you can go to the YouTube channel, and I kind of have this overhead. It gets you a little bit of a better shot of what I'm looking at here. I think sometimes I need to throw this little cheater lens on here, which unfortunately does blur the surroundings, but it makes the middle parts a lot easier to see. So I kind of have to be aware of that and go back and forth. I'm still new to this whole live streaming thing. I did it a little bit doing gaming stuff. But actually doing these builds, this is this is new territory for me. So we'll go here this way. Yeah, so that's going to sit a lot more flush now. And the other reason why I like this better is because that extra thickness from this was preventing this screw from engaging all the way across, into the servo mount, which is kind of getting in the way. So yeah, that's way better and way stronger of a connection. And you can kind of see in here, the threads are still not all the way. You can see that they're still not all the way up to the edge. So, and that's probably going to vary based on how thick the ears are on your servo. But I do like that a lot better. So do that. If you do run a Spectrum servo, then yeah. And these are definitely going to be spot on as far as the dimensions for the other two screws on the opposite side. Because I'm looking at the holes from where I'm at, and they are absolutely like right there. So probably once I get these two sides together and locked down, there's probably going to be basically no wiggle room, which is what I want. Do not want this servo moving around. This. Okay. A little bit crooked. Just the way that it's sitting. So I need to back this off a little bit. Tighten that back down. Because I wanted to make sure that this edge along the top was sitting flush across the entire servo so that it wasn't sitting one way or the other once it gets put in the car. So that should be good. Like that. And then my other concern, and hopefully this is not an issue, but we're going to obviously find out, is the servo is sitting a little bit lower than the plate. And if I compare it, it is a big servo, so unfortunately my fault dimension-wise. But as I kind of alluded to earlier, there's not really a lot of options. I don't like cheap servos. I feel like they burn out too easily, and or you strip gears, or the reaction time's too slow, stuff like that. So that's one of the areas that I don't skimp out on is my servos. So. It's like that. And then here's a cheat that I'm going to do. Because if you notice, when you put a servo in a car and you put the servo horn on, if it's not oriented properly, it's going to give you a headache. It's because you'll have to take stuff back apart and realign the servo with this little dot that's on the end of the servo. So what I have is probably in my other toolbox, my bag. Let's see here. Stuff. Not there. I should have it with all the rest of my electrical items. Yep. So this here is an XBC 100. Now, Spectrum did, I'm gonna take this back off for you guys. Spectrum did release a new one just the other day. So I'll pull that up for you just for the sake of a comparison here. Again, if you're on TikTok, this camera and any of the web stuff that I do is going to be on the YouTube side of things, because I haven't qualified for screen sharing on TikTok yet. So maybe you can't really see it. It's too small for you guys, unfortunately, but it's over on YouTube if you go over there. And I keep saying that, and YouTube's probably gonna, you know, kick the algorithm in my face in a minute. So basically what they did was, they're gonna just kind of look through here real quick and see if they really changed much or if it's just repackaged. So this is the XBC 100, and I don't know if they're gonna let me direct compare, but we'll click it anyway. And then let's see if I can look it up. I know it was a 200. Maybe in their smart battery stuff. I'll just look through real quick and find it. Probably in the accessories. Yeah, here we go. That's the XBC 100. That's the one that I already had selected to compare. And I don't think, maybe they don't have it on their website yet. But I did see it. I do know it is coming out. So let me see if I can go. Let's go digging through here. XBC 100, XBC 100. There we go. So couldn't find it on Spectrum's site, but it's over here on Horizon Hobby site, which Horizon owns Spectrum, so your guess is as good as mine as to why it's over here, but it's not over there. But let's see if I take the model number now that I have it and go back to their page and see if it pops up. Now it does. Web design is a challenge. But now can I set these up to compare? Yeah, see, it's not letting me direct compare them, which is really strange to me. And then it doesn't come up on their shop page. That's unless it's in one of the other pages. So let's just keep going through, keep going through. I would have thought they would be sorted newest to oldest. The X3 mobile mounts. Yeah, I really wish Spectrum would do something with their websites, or Horizon, or whoever. I don't know if they're just struggling to keep pace with their own product lines or what, but you know, it's just really, it's a strange thing. It's a shame, really. So they've changed the buttons. They're now physical buttons, whereas before they were capacitive touch, you know, basically a touch panel instead. So obviously, because I have the original one here. But I'm not really seeing, obviously I have to go through these comparisons just directly cold turkey here because they didn't put it on their website to be able to compare the two directly. So I'll make this a little bit bigger here. A little small on the feed there. Battery checker with cell balancing, easy to read, full color display, Qualcomm USB, all that kind of stuff. And then the other one, that was this one. And then the other one is doing IC2, IC3, USB-C. So they changed it to a USB-C, whereas this has a USB-A and a micro. So PWM checking, they changed the buttons. Connections for IC2, IC3, and IC5. But they still only have the one connector on the opposite side versus this one, which has the other style connector on it. I don't know. I don't know if I like the newer one better or not. Obviously, getting away from that micro USB is a positive, but you know, is it worth upgrading? I don't know, $62 versus $74. And then as far as the screen itself, the screen looks basically exactly the same to me. The interface may be a little bit different. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Spectrum, if you want to send me one to compare and contrast between the two and give me a reason to upgrade, then it'd be my guess. And if I like it, I'll buy it from you afterwards. All right, so basically what I'm going to do here is using this, because this has a servo checker on it, is I'm going to power this up, and then that way I can zero the servo and put it into its standard position to where I don't have an issue with the build. And then I can do it that way. This does require a power input into it. I think I can run it off this just for now. Let's see. It doesn't like that. Definitely does not like that. But that is the input for it. So and that does work, because I just plugged it into something else. So that's a fail on that part. Maybe it doesn't have enough oomph. So let's try this handy dandy thing. And if this doesn't have enough oomph, then it does not work that way. It doesn't work that way. So what I have to do to get it to run is I have to get one of my batteries out and hook a battery into it, and then it'll run. Which is fine. It's not a huge deal. It's just going to take an adapter on my part. Maybe not. So we do some of that. Untangle this. It's the only thing about these Spectrum Smart batteries when you get into the smaller cells is you're still gonna have a balance lead on these. Kind of defeats the whole point of doing these batteries in the first place. So now you see that wakes up. Go back here for the YouTubers. So now that's awake. And it's angry at me because this battery is actually a little bit low for what it is. So I just do not like how this whole thing is together. Sometimes it bothers me how twisted this gets. Kind of defeats the purpose of the smart system by doing it like this. But see, now I'm twisted the other way. It's just, it's annoying. I still like the batteries. I just wish that they had come up with a better way to plug these in, which maybe I'll come up with something myself and I'll sell it on the shop. Just add that to my list. So now we got that hooked in. This battery's at 55 because I had it storage charged, obviously. And then you basically take your servo and plug that into the end here. Obviously make sure your wires are facing the right way. And then it should, when you go back through here, give you options for servo stuff, for servo testing. So, and then the servo will move itself back and forth. And there, now it's zeroed. And then you can actually, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see as I'm doing this. Go back and get that lens again and put it on here for you. And then we'll come way down. And maybe you'll be able to see this, but it's kind of a thing here. Bring it way down. Way down in. And all the adjustments in the world for this. So you've got your screen, the different settings and whatever, and if you can see that tiny little dot when I do this, is going to move back and forth. And it's going to go back and forth and back and forth and what have you. So that, according to this readout, is the center point for that. Obviously different settings. So. And then you can go incrementally if you really desire, you know, for whatever reasons, to go back and forth at specific steps. Me personally, I don't use that for anything, but I suppose you can do that. And if you double press it, then it'll just keep rotating back and forth through the whole set, going back and forth. So there you go. So now, without having to go through a whole big mess of plugs and things like that, it will have itself completely zeroed. So now when I mount the servo horn on it before putting it in the car, I don't have to worry about me being off by a few teeth or what have you. It should be exactly where it needs to be. So that's that whole thing. Always a good little toy. I don't know if you should, I mean, I guess if you don't have one of these and you want to spring for the newer model, you can. I suppose it doesn't hurt. I mean, why would you get the older one when the newer one exists? In all fairness. So, that's that. Put this stuff away real quick. I can build these a lot faster. It's just, you know, when I'm doing all this back and forth and trying to explain stuff to anybody who might pop in that's curious about these things, it obviously takes time. That's cool though. So we're there, and then we go straight up and down with this servo horn. As straight up and down as I can possibly locate it. It's basically the name of the game. These are always really snug. Whenever I put a horn on a servo, I always get kind of nervous because of just how snug the fit usually is for these things. It's fine, but you know. So now that's hilarious to me. So TikTok pops up and says, we detected inactivity. What inactivity? Or is that just it saying, hey, you've been doing this for an hour? You know, maybe you should go to bed, dude. So this was 3x6. I'm just double checking myself. Go here. It's on there. 100%. Do not over tighten it, that screw. You know, the thread lock is enough to hold it and keep it in there. Over tightening it, bad day. Bad day. 3x10 FHs. So that's probably going to be these bad boys here. Yeah, we got 3x10s. So now we get to see whether or not this servo sticking out a little bit is going to cause an issue for me. I don't think it will, but we'll kind of find out real fast. So where exactly do they have this? So this is actually going to go into the notch. Is that what I'm getting from this? That's different. That's way different from what I was used to on the last car. But that's good. We got plenty of clearance there, so that's all set and in. And more thread lock, of course. Connor is back and forth. Yeah, Connor, assuming you're still in here, I have a YouTube channel. It's Category 6RC. If you do a basic search, it should be on there. Or you can find it through the links on my website, category6rc.com. If you scroll down on the main page, there's links to all the social media across all the different platforms, from TikTok to YouTube to X, Facebook. These are the whole line from top to bottom. And thank you for asking and joining and all that whole spiel. And I leave these lives up, so if there's anything that you go through and you see it and you want to revisit it or something like that, I keep them up, and then when I have time, I go back through and I'll add timestamps for specific things that I cover, like for example that Spectrum servo checker and battery balancer that I just went through a few minutes ago. This is really an off-the-cuff thing. I do this basically just when I'm working on the cars. I figure why not? I'll start the cameras up and let it go. So that's kind of what I do here. I'll do this as often as I can. More often, I still do have a day job. Bear with me 1 second. I gotta get paper towels. One of those, I just happen to have the equipment. So because I happen to have the equipment, I'll do this, and if anybody has questions or there's anything I can help anybody out with. If you live in Florida and you want me to personally try and help you, fix something, or you just want to go to a track and race, I go to a bunch of the tracks around here whenever I get some free time. I'm more than happy to meet up with anybody. Alright, so that went well. So now we're basically here. This is where we're at right now. And that monster of a servo is just chilling in there. And now I've got to do... What are we doing? Steering bell crank posts. And then we go on from that point. I don't know about time-wise. Not too bad. Do need to see something here. Need more cooling. This room gets a little bit warm with all the lights. Between the lights and I don't have the printer running right now behind me, otherwise it would probably be even warmer in here. So. Six. So now I guess one of the nice things about these Spectrum servos is I could, at least I think it'll let me pull it back out. Maybe it won't. So I've got these standoffs and then more 3x8 FHs, which is going to be these ones here. And again with the thread lock, cannot stress enough the thread lock. If you're doing metal on metal pieces, do not skimp on the thread lock. You'll have, when a screw backs itself out and pieces start coming off your card, you're going to be really upset and wish you had the thread lock on there. So it's one of those cheap insurance policies for sure. Now on these standoffs, it seems like Associated made sure they wanted to make absolutely certain that these did not rotate on you. They actually milled little inserts into the chassis to make sure that they stay straight, which is nice. I appreciate little details like that. So there's going to be one. We got two. Yeah, man. So tomorrow I will definitely be up again, and tomorrow is going to be a very, very long day of build. I have a lot of cars to build. Not a lot of time to get them done. And I'm hoping that Associated can, well, I should say the event organizers. Somehow I made a mistake when I signed up for the classes at the race in Las Vegas. So I put myself in the wrong class, like a goofball. So at the moment, somehow I put myself in the 1980-1990 class for the trucks, and they're kind of full because it's a very popular event. So I don't know if they're going to be able to switch me around. If they can't switch me around, then I'll see everybody next year again. Because I screwed up. So it is what it is. Cross your T's and dot your I's and pay attention to details, I guess. There's a lot going on these days, so you get distracted sometimes. So we're doing the 8mm on these. Oh, come over here, look at that. Ta-da. I guessed right. And then more of the 2mm, which I already know those ones. And then we're doing the bearings here. 4x7 by 2.5s is the bearings that they're calling for. Unfortunately for me, in this case, all the bearings are just kind of in one bag, so this is going to be a little bit of a hot and peck. If you're good at building Legos, you're probably going to be good at building RC cars, because it's a similar level of trying to sort through parts and then find which parts you're supposed to use for what areas. And just like Legos, if you screw it up and put the wrong thing in the wrong spot, then you're not going to have the right part for the right spot later on. And you're going to have to take stuff back apart. Luckily, in the case of RC cars, you pretty much, if you put something in the wrong spot, you're going to know right away. These cuts are fun to put together. Some people don't want to put them together though, and that's fine. So if you want me to build your kit for you, I can do that. I won't ship completed kits to people. It's just it's too hard to make sure stuff doesn't break, and then it's an expensive process to do that. And if your car ever got lost in the mail or something, that would be upsetting, to say the least. So, but if you live in Florida, I'm happy to come pick the kit up from you. Bring it back here. You can watch me build it on the stream, and then I will bring it back to you as soon as it is finished. If that is what you would like to do. Some people like to do that. Some people, they want a built racing kit versus an RTR car, ready to run car, because the race kits, obviously they're more customizable, you know, they're better. There's something to be said for building your own kit, and then racing your own kit. And honestly, I think anybody they could build these. It's not too. If you're somewhat mechanically inclined, you might make mistakes, but you know, you make mistakes and then you figure it out, and then you try again. No big deal. But some people don't have the time. They want to play. They want to, you know, customize and race on the track and compete with people, and the amount of time to build a kit from scratch is just not available to them. So they'll hire guys like me, and shops will do them too for you if you want, and then you know, you don't have to worry about it. And you know, of course, I guarantee all my stuff. If something breaks or comes apart because of something that I did, then of course I'll fix it for you. No problem. And then if you want, I'm going to put the pricing structure for that up on the website next. That's one of the next things that I'm working on. As of right now, it's just been kind of word of mouth. You know, I talk to the person, you know, okay, well, what do you want to do? That kind of thing. But I'm going to put it up there so it's more upfront. People get more of an idea of what they're getting into. Obviously, if you want things like the electronics package put in, if it's what you want and you've already picked out what you want, that's one thing. If you want me to figure out what you should have, that's another thing. And then it goes from there, you know, in complexity. I, at the moment, am not good enough at painting bodies to paint bodies for people. I got a bunch of guys that I can recommend to you to have your bodies painted, you know, from them. But as far as me painting a body for you, I'm sorry, I can't. It wouldn't be right for me to take that type of a job from somebody, because it's just not going to be. I can paint bodies decent, but I'm not on the level of some of these guys that, you know, to me, they can charge. You know, like, that's not bad. but it's not the absolute greatest paint job either. You can see like around the edges here, this is not quite right. Now, in my defense a little bit, this was a rush job. So if I was doing something for somebody else, it probably would have taken my time more than I did on that. But, you know. So this is showing 4 of these. So where's my 4th one? There's my 4th one. Okay. 1, 2. And then we're doing these buggers. Bottom. Hello, everybody. Even if you're popping in for the very split second because TikTok has you scrolling past me, hello anyway. If you stay for a few seconds to see what I'm playing with here, that's cool. Like that, and then we gotta build these suckers next. So based on the way I have this oriented, that's gonna go like that. And this is going to go like this. And I've got one more ball stud to put in. That'll be the short one. Red. This short. It's a short. Suzine. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that properly. Thank you for liking the live. Definitely appreciate that. I think you're my first like of the night, believe it or not. I'm not very big. Just one guy playing with his little RC cars. Alright. So good there, good there. And then these are going to use the larger of the bearings. Up and down. What do I have here? Oh, 2. I must have missed one. And then the 3x12s, which I think are my last 2 for this bag. And then I can move on to the next bag. Yep, 3x12s. So we're good there. And these are going up through the sleeved bearing surface. So the threads are not actually on the bearings, they are in little metal sleeves to make sure that it doesn't just slowly work its way loose or grind through stuff. Don't mind that bearing, they do that. They're just kind of sitting in there. The tolerances on these plastic pieces are not tight enough to hold the bearings in there by themselves usually. So, and putting steering assemblies together is usually a little bit unwieldy and a little bit of a struggle. There's just a lot of pieces that like to move around and back and forth and what have you. Got that. Let me come this way. This way. And then that's going into the bottom side of that. This is all what I'm working on right now is very tiny. So if you are on TikTok, I apologize. You really can't see too much of what I'm doing. If you go on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see this camera that's up here, and then you kind of get a little bit of a better view of what I'm putting together. I feel like what I should do, now that I'm thinking about it, if I put a little graphic up on the screen of the car, that might be helpful. So I'll probably set that up for next time. But it's a little difficult to see and understand what exactly is being built here. Just looking at a chassis, especially if you're not familiar with RC cars. So this is if anybody wants to Google it for the moment. This is what I'm building. So you can see it. This is a competition level RC car. So this is something that you can compete with other people and race around and do all sorts of fun stuff with and customize to an extreme degree, to say the least. These are rather expensive. They are kind of technical, but they're a bunch of fun when you figure them out. And pretty much anybody could do it. It's not really there's not really a limit as far as the people that show up for these tracks. Old, young, guys, girls, whoever you are, bring what you have and race around. Basically how it goes. I usually do these lives for 2 hours, give or take. I'm trying to do them more often. I'm going to try and get them up to every other day, sometimes every day. But I still have a lot of other things that I have to take care of. So this is kind of like my hobby that I'm trying to turn into a business if I possibly can. Something I've messed around with since I was a little kid. And then life happened and got in the way, so now I'm kind of getting back into it. And hopefully I can build a track somewhere in Orlando that people can come to and race to, where it's about as welcoming as it could possibly get. All that whole spiel. I'm curious about one thing that I just discovered right now. Is this longer? Yes, it is, by quite a bit. Wow, okay. Well, I don't need that one on this car. I don't need that much length. At least I don't think I will. Keep it in there for now. Did I have... These are all for the RC10T. All these pieces over here on the right. But I should have those are all other stuff. Unless it's in a different bag. Yeah, bag 2. Where did you go? There you are. Do some of this. This one is doing... Oh, that's not good. unless I got another thing that's hiding. Nope, I don't think so. So, unless the paper's wrong, which does happen. So I've been told. Those are all 2s, those are all 2s. Nope, that's another 2, but I don't have a 2. So I should have had 4 ball stud washers in total that were 2 millimeters wide, and I have a whole bunch of singles in here instead. Now I'm hesitant to put 2 1 millimeters together and make a 2 because they might be needed somewhere else in the kit. But this sometimes does happen where a kit, if the bags are put together by weight, which a lot of manufacturers do that, because I don't think that there's any other around here. And we're in bag 4, bag 5. And I don't see the 1 millimeters being used anywhere. Not that I can see. Until I get the bag 6 step 4, then I have some 1 millimeters for the hub assemblies. Which that does happen. As you go through these, you might have something from a bag that's way earlier in the instructions that's left over that then it pops in later on. So now I'm really on edge here because I'm missing a 2 millimeter washer from the kit, it seems like. I wonder if I have one. 2 millimeter, 2 millimeter. The only other possibility would be that there was a misprint somewhere and I can get away with the singles. Yeah, those are 2 millimeter. Yeah, there's nowhere that I messed up. So, and that other thing was bag what? That was way down the line here, past the differentials and everything like that. That was going to be bag 6. All the way down to bag 6. And bag 6 has its own 2 millimeter ball stud washers, so that's definitely not going to be used for that. So this kit seems to have gotten filled with a bunch of 1 millimeters when it should have had a 2. So that basically gives me 2 by putting 2 of them together. That shouldn't hurt anything. It's just unnerving. But that's what I'm going to do for now. If it becomes a problem, then take crap back apart. Or it's a misprint and it's supposed to be a single, which is entirely possible as well. So this needs to be closed and closed that way. Like that. Basically the same size, it seems. A little bit longer when you use their optional one. So I think I'm going to use their regular one at the end of the day for the steering link. Just do that. So now that basically stays together. And we're done with that part. And our list decided to cut out. That's my light, wow. I have noticed that this small light that I'm using doesn't manage to stay powered on. It will cut out after a while, and then I have to let it charge up and then hit it again. So, and at the moment they're leaving that wide open, which is fine for arm mount B. So that's in bag 2. Well, let's find bag 2. The big hacking bag that is bag 2, which is going to be a lot of front suspension components and things like that. So we have control arms, different pills, more pills, more pills, more pills. Now, something I am going to be putting together as a product on the website is going to be a holder for these. Every single kit that you build is going to have a ton of these pills for different settings, and you have to hold on to them some way. And for the guys who know what all these different settings do and how they can adjust and fine tune and things like that, trying to keep these in order is a nightmare sometimes. You can tell one of them popped off inside the packaging. So when I build these kits, I'm not that advanced that I can fine tune my suspension settings like some other people can. But I basically just build these kits with the factory setup, and that's sufficient for me. But again, there's a lot of people who get very, very specific with their settings and can fine tune and dial these cars in to where they just handle like insanely well. Is I guess the word I'm going to use, or the words I'm going to use. So if you're one of those people and you want to have your boxes or your pills a lot better organized, look for that. I'm going to be putting that together in the next few weeks, hopefully. And then that'll be up for sale alongside the spur gear holder that I'm currently working on, and a couple other small things. There are some things that are basically retail stuff that I have up there, and then there's things that I've put together myself. So and these are thicker than the other ones, so I'm going to put those ones off to that side. Those ones are thicker too. Injection moldings. They come off fairly clean, but there's always just a little tiny bit of an edge on them. So I clean up the edges just because I'm paranoid about them getting stuck on the chassis or somewhere, and then binding the suspension up. So it's just something I do. Now I have to find these arms, because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. The ends are first. Put these up there. Two 539, so that's the rear. I'll put that there. And then this one is the 92538, which is the front arm mount. So, and they want the absolute most neutral pills of the sets. So it's going to be a center. So you kind of have to look at all these little dots on here, and again, up this macro on here. Can't really see. But if you notice, they've all got little dots and little numbers on all of them to correspond to the slight offset for the holes, to slightly change your geometry on your suspension, ever so slightly. So these are basically 0, which, lucky for me, they have put on the ends to make it easy. So all 0 all the way around. And I do remember not to get these backwards, because if you get these backwards, you have a bad day. Those go in there, like that. And then I'm looking for 3x8 FHCS. It's all going to be in this little bag here. One last screw. Get out of there. So these all look like they're the same. So they are. You can tell how your 2mm wears out really fast, because you basically, the vast majority of the screws on a lot of these kits is the 2mm. So I don't use a lot of thread lock, but I do use enough. How you doing, Novell? I presume that's how it's pronounced. I don't want to butcher your thing. Are you printing anything today? Mine's quiet today. She's not doing anything at the moment. So maybe tomorrow. But I've been tied up in building cars lately, so the associated boxes and things like that are kind of on hold at the moment until I catch up on these cars. I got races to get to, and cars to build, and bodies to paint. I got a lot. I know, it is. It's bad. I really need to print. But I need to do a filament order is what I really need to do too. My drawer is starting to run out. It's a horrible problem to have, man. I have all this PLA and PETG that's going away, and the boxes over on the other side over here, you can't really see them because they're off frame, but there's 2 big Bamboo Labs boxes, and they're full of what is it, CF6. It's a carbon fiber filament and fiberglass reinforced, and that's for some other parts that I'm going to be putting together, gear shrouds and things like that for these cars. So I've got to work on some of that. It's just, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. And the reason why the cars are kind of priority at the moment is because I have that race coming up in Las Vegas in, oh, how many weeks am I out? Not very many weeks. Well, why are yours in silence right now? Because I wouldn't expect yours to be quiet. Yeah, I work night shift as my normal everyday thing, and then I come home and I try to get as much done with this stuff, and hopefully someday I don't need the night shift, but at the moment, too many Blender tutorials. Yeah, but at least you're doing, it's good stuff. You're helping people out, which is important. You know, it's, let's see here. We're at the 21st of September, and the race, I have to be in Las Vegas on the 15th. So if anybody's going to be in Las Vegas, or if you live near Las Vegas, come down to the Orleans Hotel. That's where they're having the race. I am crash coursing myself through Fusion 360 at the moment. And I don't know if that was the wise choice or not, but that's what I've been messing with and trying not to pull my hair out. Well, then you're still not that far from me. Tennessee, it's I'm down in Florida, so Central Florida. We were just up in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Georgia Aquarium. Luckily, we got to see. They had three. I think they had three, or is it two? They had two whale sharks for the longest time, and we just happened to go up there because we wanted to see them. Because my girlfriend's an absolute whale shark. You know, she loves the whale sharks, so we went up and saw them. And then, unfortunately, sadly, a few weeks ago. It was all over TikTok. I don't know, but you probably saw it. There was an issue. He had a brain thing or something going on cognitively, I guess, and they had to put him down. So now they only have one whale shark, which is sad, but they rescued the whale sharks that they have. So that's cool. Yeah, it was amazing to see. The one they have, I think it's definitely the largest aquarium in the United States. But then, from a viewing standpoint, they have this massive acrylic wall. It's probably 2 stories high. It's huge. You would think that you were sitting in a giant movie theater with how big this panel is, with the aquarium on the other side of that glass, and both of them going by at the same time. There's nothing like it. Obviously, I don't wish that these animals need to be rescued. I'd rather they would just live their happy lives and whatever. But I hope that if they ever have another whale shark somewhere that needs help or needs rehabilitation or can't be in the wild anymore, that Georgia Aquarium gets to take over and keep that one. So that was a good trip, though. Let's see here. I've got my 1mm shims. I have to be at work at 2:00 in the morning. So thanks for liking it, buddy. It's a struggle. I told you before, I think when I was the last time I spoke with you, that this is all still very new for me, trying to start this whole thing out. So it's going to be like 1 subscriber at a time, the slow grind as it is. So all right, yeah, go take care of that. We'll get back to my control arms. B84 front suspension, which should be right and left. Yeah, the rears have more of a dip and a curve to them. So those are going to be my rears, and I want to make sure I put them off to the side so I do not get these crossed up. And then I've got one hinge and the other hinge. And then where did they put the shims? Front shims, 1mm. The rears. Knights Templar. So this is where the instructions on these start to get a little bit wonky, and I can tell they're wonky because they've given me two shims, or 4 rather, that are 1 millimeter thick, and then they've given me 4 more, which are definitely not 1 millimeter thick, not even close. So the question now is, where is the typo? Because these images show 4 shims on each one in the graphic, but both say 1 millimeter shims. Little frustrated right now with these guys. This is a little sloppy. So because those are definitely not 1 millimeter, but that's all that was attached to the control arms, and that's all that's in that bag. And I know that these say 3, and then these ones are marked 3 as well, but they're definitely not the same diameter, the same thickness. They're not even close. So either it's a thing when I look at the pictures in the book, they both say 1 millimeter for these shims, but then the image of the rear suspension arms, the shims look thicker in the image. So I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that the 1 millimeters go up front and the 2 or 3 millimeters, I mean, they're thick. I actually want to measure them because these are really thick. So they're 2. The rears are 2s, and then the fronts are 1. But the book says to put 1 millimeters all the way around, front and rear. But they haven't given me 1 millimeters all the way around, and the picture doesn't show what looks like 1 millimeters on the rears. So we're gonna see, this might be a little bit of a trial and error on this one, because I don't think the book is correct. Now I'm 2 for 2 on this kit, where things are not matching the book. Because we had the steering link from the servo arm to the steering linkage was not, they didn't have the 2 millimeter in there for that connection. And now they don't have these suspension arm shims seemingly marked properly. So these might be coming back apart after I put them together once. So we'll see. We will see. This one's the right, this one's the left. So if we're gonna do the pin, what kind of sucks right now for me though is that the amount of steps that are in between this part and where the rest of it actually gets attached are kind of not even on this page. So, and these are really kind of pain to deal with when they're not physically in there. But I am looking at this and kind of going, I am already not really happy with that. Two 49.5 millimeter and two 51 millimeter. Lady JB. So let's go. Let's see what I have here. That's a 51.07. So then this one should also be a 51.07. AKA close enough to 51 to be considered 51. 51.02 for that one. So shim that. And we shim this. And I'm going with the 1 millimeters on the front just because they'll look smaller in the book, and the book's just, I don't know what the hell the book is doing right now. This is really not okay to me. Because that looks like they're going to stick way out. See, this is where I start to get annoyed with the way that the kit is laid out. If I leave these on here and start attaching the rear components, they're just going to fall out on the floor. So we're going to do that. And they want same setting in the rear, the 1-to-1s for the pills on the rear. That. And then I've got my other two FHC. Ugh. I can't talk right now. FHCS flathead screws. Not what I wanted to have happen. I'm shocked that this laptop's being able to do this with no frame drops. I'm still absolutely blown away. I really am. Alright, so that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to put the the suspension pins into the rear suspension arms so that I know that those are where they're supposed to be. They want them in the middle. It should be easy enough. A lot of guys like to use power tools on these things. I will not. I absolutely will not. It's plastic and machine screw threads. You over torque these and pull them through, and the whole A arm is trash. The whole control arm is trash. .3D printer guys will appreciate that. You try to screw stuff into 3D printed material, a lot of times that's what happens. So now let's see if they're going to let me close this up so that I can at least... No, they're not. We're going to go on to differentials. So all that's going to be loose. Welcome back, buddy. How did the kiddo all right? Thank you, everybody, for the likes. I'm actually kind of shocked that I'm at 495. I'm not an e-girl. Likes to cut out. That is Artlist for you. I use Artlist for all the audio because they won't flag me because I have a license with them from the YouTube stuff that I was doing before. I still am just laser beam focused on this at the moment. So for now, here's what I'm going to try to do. Hopefully it complies, because I have to set this off to the side at the moment. I don't like... I wish they would just let me cap the end of this. I know there's probably a reason why they're not letting me do that step yet. But there you have it. And then the two rears. These were going which way? They're gonna let me cap it. If you look at these instructions, they're gonna let me cap it in the next, after a couple steps of building the drive axles and the differentials. But because the differential housings for the front and rear for the four-wheel drive system actually go in between those, and then that whole thing clamps everything down. So that's why. Somebody's got to do it. No one else is. She would, but she's asleep. At least I think she would. I don't know. No, I can't say that. My girl's absolutely 110% as helpful as she can possibly be with this stuff. I could not possibly ask for more from her because the patience required. I mean, this car that I'm building right now, I mean, for example, I mean, she paid for this car. I didn't. This is one of the cars that I didn't buy. I wanted this car really bad, but I couldn't justify the cost. So then she stepped in and surprised me. She's like, she went up on Associated's website and bought it retail, and then she used my login even to try and get me the points, or to at least have it in my my list. This was a while ago. This car's been sitting unbuilt for several months, but she put it in the system to try and make sure I got the points, and then realized that, oh, it's going to send me an email confirming my order. So that she had to come up with a way to make it seem like it was a fluke. Like, oh, oops, I was just looking around and I don't know how that happened. Or, oh, they must have sent you an email. I forget exactly what story she came up with. But I bought it, and then I came home the one day and there was an Associated box sitting on the front porch. What did you do? Yeah, I do need to. We've been together for 9 years at this point, and she puts up with all of this. Bought the printer, no flack, no questions, no anything whatsoever about the printer. I buy the RC car stuff, again, I get no real pushback, just 100% encouragement with what I'm trying to do. It's just, I could not ask for a better partner to try and do what I'm doing. I hear these stories about these guys who are with women who, they go to work on their RC cars and they get nothing but pushback, and I can't fathom being in that position, being in that situation. It's just like, if you're with somebody who doesn't, at the minimum, let you pursue your passions and what you want to do in life, move on. Do something else. Life is too short. You can't, unless you're doing something that's really violent or really destructive, like, I don't know, if you're a heroin or a cocaine enthusiast, maybe that would be bad, right? But there's nothing destructive about this. It's destructive to my wallet, for sure. But this is something, I said this on the last stream, but I'm going to keep reiterating it. This is something I would always do when I was a kid, and my parents weren't very, how do I put this with respect so that I don't trash my parents? They were less than encouraging with this. That's about as nice as I can put it. So it was up to me to load up an RC car. At that time, it was an RC10 that was the old gold kits, which are not easy to build. If you're a kid, like, we're talking pre-driver's license age, and I'm putting this thing together, I'm trying to build it and trying to put the whole thing together, and no help from them at all. Naturally, it was kind of a little bit of a disaster when I was putting that together, because I'm a kid. It's a professional grade competition level car, and I'm trying to put this thing together, and slipper clutch in the whole 9 yards, and it was a mess because the cars back then were not, you kind of had to really know what you were doing, and if you didn't have the support or the help, and me trying to get to a track was getting on my bicycle, putting my stuff in a backpack, and riding miles and miles away, further than they wanted me to ride, because it was dangerous. It was a 2-lane highway or whatever. I'm riding my bike to a track in Pennsylvania, and you can only do so much at that point. I'm trying to pay for things with money I made from mowing grass, and in the wintertime, obviously that dries up. Grass isn't growing. So then life happened, and I kind of put it off to the side for years and years and years, and then before I moved down to Florida, I got back into it and started opening the stuff up again and going to town on stuff. When I was cleaning out boxes, I found my old Stadium Blitzer, what was left of it, because it got destroyed. And then, I still had my old Losi from years ago. That's a graphite car, and I was going to run that, but then when I'm getting back into the hobby, I have people telling me, don't race that car. You can't get parts for it. You can't do it. Just put it on your shelf as a memento of your past when you were a kid racing cars. So that's what I did. And now I have almost every competition car that Associated makes sitting underneath here. I'm trying, man. I'm trying as hard as I possibly can. I'm still working a full-time job, and then I come home and try and do this, and then caffeine myself to get back up at. I have a 3D scanner. I do. And that was another one where she did not stand in my way whatsoever. So, ta-da. Here's your scanner. And of course, I didn't. How do I put this? It wasn't overboard, but I definitely didn't go the cheapest option, and maybe I should have, because Raptor Pro. But then I also have the Wi-Fi bridge so that I'm not tethered to the computer. And this really doesn't get used in this room. This gets used on the computers that are in the office, which have a lot more capacity. That computer in the office is running 192 gigabytes of RAM and all sorts of other stuff to be able to handle the amount of data that you need for doing that. So I have all the tools. It's just coming down to time and just building it all up. You know, the website's up, and you're trying to figure out the logistics angle of it. And I'm trying right now to apply to be a dealer for some of these manufacturers. That's not easy to do. I don't have a physical storefront. I'm just this room and trying to do stuff online at the moment. So anybody that wants to follow, feel free. Everything helps. I do make some things. I have some of the stuff is on the website. This is a slightly different variation of one of the things. The people on YouTube can see this a lot better than the people on TikTok, but it's kind of a big scale. The idea behind this is you can change out these plates for different needs. It's a shock tower and differential holder, which I'm going to be building a differential, so I will probably be using this to hold those pieces when I get to those steps. And then there's some other things that I have to build and go through and modify. I have these. These are basically what's holding that loci on the wall. So the wheels from the cars basically get nested in here like this, and then it mounts up on the wall to hold your car up in a more a better fashion than just having hooks, I guess. I don't like hooking into my A arms or control arms and stuff like that, whereas this I can just place it on the wall. And then that goes that way. What else did I have here? I'm trying to think. I think the other stuff is in the other room. But that's where I'm going. I did make a small shroud for the other four-wheel drive, because in the center of the car, there's the center differential gear, and I'm always paranoid that that gear is going to start touching wires and stuff if things get shifted around, going off jumps and things like that. So there's a cover that I printed to put over top of that to protect it. Little things like that. But I'm not very good at marketing a website. That's one thing that I'm absolutely terrible at. So I had some stuff on eBay, but eBay is absolutely... What can I say about eBay? The fees that they want to charge for selling stuff on their platform are outrageously high. You're going to get something where, like, I sold something the other day, it was $159 is what I sold it for. The person paid taxes and whatever. Of that $150 that I got out of the sale, eBay took 25 bucks for their, promoting and whatever. And I just go, there's no way you can get decent margins unless you're way overcharging somebody for something, and then having it sit up there, because they'll bill you their percentage based not on just what you sell it for. They're gonna rope in the taxes that the person paid and the shipping if you charge for shipping. They're gonna charge you all of that as a part of their commission fee structure, and it's just... So here's the problem with 3D printing RC car parts. When it comes to things like control arms and certain components, if I print them in carbon fiber reinforced or glass or something like that, or some of these other higher strength filaments, the filaments are so expensive that the part cost goes up so high that you can't justify it and you can't sell it and make a profit. It's not a thing. Unless I did some sort of injection molding, or what I plan to do in the future here is to get some CNC equipment and actually machine aluminum parts and then anodize them and go from there. But at the moment, printing things like battery tray holders and certain components, yeah, you can get away with it with 3D printing. But admittedly, a lot of the guys that run and race these cars have their own 3D printers. So I'm just making stuff that other people already have the capacity to do themselves. In most cases. So I gotta find a different approach, which I haven't quite figured out yet. But just some things, the 3D printing doesn't handle the abuse very well. Not to sell. Well, what? I mean, I could make some custom control arms and stuff to change the geometry, but the problem is that if you modify these cars too much, you'll exit outside of the requirements for racing in these leagues and at tracks and at IMFAR stuff and ROAR and whatever. There's rules around what sort of things you can change and how much you can change the cars without breaking the rules. So yeah, I mean, I could do it for things that don't have replacements. I don't really have any cars that don't have replacements. I mean, the Stadium Blitzers, yeah. And I did before I had the 3D printer, and this was a while ago. I'll show you this. Let's see. So there's a car called the Tamiya Stadium Blitzer, which was the second RC car that I ever owned after the RC10 fiasco. There is a company, and these were printed by them. And I bought two of them because I have two Stadium Blitzers new in box, believe it or not. The one is an original from way back. And then the other one is a re-release from 2010, but they're all new unopened. So here's the piece. And this is 3D printed from whoever manufactured this and then sent it to me. But it was a while ago. But this was one of those commissioned 3D printers who, they print for, whoever asks for a part to be printed. I honestly don't even think I know what material that's printed out of. Unless I have it over here. No, it doesn't say. So what these are is the Stadium Blitzers had a weak point in their chassis where they would regularly fracture. And this is supposed to reinforce that part of the frame to prevent that break from happening. So that's why I got these, because obviously I can't do anything with those as far as trying to reinforce them. One of them I will probably run. I'll probably try and find another Stadium Blitzer to run. And then the original that I managed to find from a guy in Taiwan or Thailand. That car is priceless, and that has a lot of sentimental value for me. So that car will probably stay in its box, in its plastic, for a long time yet. I may build that someday. But as of right now, it's just gonna stay. I got a lot of other stuff to do. Sand or salt and put it in the oven makes a hole. Yeah, I could anneal the parts, but again, that's more steps, and I'm already, full with jobs and things that I have to do. So trying to do that and do more steps is just not something that I can add to my list right now. Like I said, I'm going to be away in Vegas for a whole week in another couple weeks. And I have, I think, 8 or 10 cars underneath here that I have to build yet. So, and not a lot of time to do it. Like this car alone has, I think, 13, 14 bags just for this car. And this is one of the more modern cars. This car is not as big of a deal. Then the other car that I'm going to start building tomorrow again, I had started it, but I was waiting on some parts from J Concepts, which are hop-up parts, is an RC10T. So once the stuff that I'm waiting for to come in tomorrow comes in, hopefully it's supposed to be here tomorrow. I'll be back on that build. I was hoping to get this done before those things showed up, but it's not. That's not gonna happen. So that's 11-8. That's so weird. Now, why would they do that? So they changed those to a 3x6. I'm guessing if you use Reedy's servo instead of the Spectrum one that I used, then those screws, the other ones probably stuck out and they didn't like that. Bag 4. Still trying to find bag 3. Bag 5, bag 6, bag 8, bag 9, bag 10, bag 11, bag 3. Lot of stuff. When are you gonna start printing stuff up? You got anything to run tomorrow, or what are you thinking? Okay, B8 for diff case. Oh, these are nice. Got some factory team logo ones. Those are cool. Gaskets. The radio silence. When am I at? Oh man, I'm at 2 hours and 28 minutes. It is 11 o'clock. I have to go to bed. So unfortunately, I do believe that I'm gonna have to call it a night before I get started on these differentials. As much as I would like to rank through them, those I'm not using because those were from the other step. Those there. These, honestly, I'm not going to use, so these can get freaking lost. Screws. Those are all the same. Also the same, also the same. All these. Again, everybody, if you want a better view of what's going on here, the YouTube channel has this overhead camera view, which definitely makes it a lot easier to see what I have on the table here versus the TikTok screen. The TikTok screen works. It's just a little bit, it's zoomed out and a little bit, probably even too high. But it's kind of a catch here, trying to not cut off certain things and not cut my head off and what have you, and still be able to see what's going on. Those ends should have 4 of them. And then I've got these. Slightly different material than the last car. Got all those all set up. Those are good to go. Diff O-ring, diff shim. I also try not to put my parts over in this box where nobody can see, if I can. Try to. So that's that. That's all that stuff. And then these have plastic gears apparently, which is a little bit of a different setup. 9452. All of these differential out drives are exactly the same, so nothing to worry about in that regard. One of them gets shoved up into the molded ring gear, and then the other one gets put into this other side of the differential. So that goes like that. Not really sliding around very much, but that's okay. That. So now differential cross pins. These are always fun to try and slide in because there's not a lot of room to work with. So you kind of have to feed the pins in and then get the gear on top. And sometimes some kits will give you a little bit of extra room on one part of the differential case, and other kits will not. So in the case of this kit, I do not think I'm going to get that option. So right there. It's kind of hard to see it, where the actual hole is too. Get it in there. Just being a little bit of a bear. One of those, it's nice because it makes it more difficult for it to pop out when I'm trying to drop the gear on top of it, but trying to get it in there in the initial instance is more difficult. And it has to be perfectly centered for the gear to fall on top of it properly. So. Not like how that's sitting. There. And just kind of rotate it to make sure that it's actually seated in there properly. So that's good on that one. this over. That goes in there. And that's basically what that's for. So, and I made it big enough so that you can hold your differentials and your shocks and everything at the same time. And then as different cars come out, this can be customized and changed. So you can take these off. This top plate comes off, and then you can, you know, I'll be coming out with different plates and different sizes that hold things. You know, maybe you want to be a tool holder if you want, or if you only run 10 scale and you only need a certain shock diameter, you can order one that caters specifically to that. You know, things like that. That's the idea, anyways. So. Kind of break the rules a little bit here, just because. Because it's kind of what I do sometimes. So that's in there, and if I rotate it, then that other angled edge will pop back up, so that I can then build this one and then put this one on by itself, rather than trying to drop the entire assembly in there in one shot. It just doesn't really work that well. But then make sure that that goes like that, and there you go. So, cool stuff. So that one's like that. And then obviously they're going to want me to fill that with shock fluid. So on and so forth. And my guess is that they'll come back around the second one. So. I wonder if TikTok gives you a thing or whatever if you get to 3 hours. Oh, these needle nose pliers are the bane of my existence a little bit. They're magnetized. I need to demagnetize them. So when I pick up something like this shim ring, it wants to hold on to it. It doesn't want to let go when I try to release it. It's just a pain. I don't remember if that MIP kit had needle nose pliers. I don't think it does. marker. There we go. Success. Not quite sitting on there. Nope. Because that little pin shifted ever so slightly. There we go. That's diff number 2. Diff number 2. Going over with this. Bring it over. Ah. Number 2. And even though those 2 outer holes are technically for 10 scale shocks, they do work with differentials. Even this differential, this is a differential for a 10 scale RC8. So it gives you some place to put the stuff to where it's not just kind of haphazardly rolling around while you're building other pieces. You see it fits nice and cleanly there like that. So diameter wise and what have you. I don't know what half this stuff means when TikTok sends me things. Now they have 14 days to accomplish some challenge, whatever that means. So I'm going to do the rest of the prep from bag 4. It wants this 15K diff fluid. I do, I vacuum my differentials and I vacuum my shocks. So this is good as a holder, but I do have a vacuum pump that I use to get everything, make sure all of the air is out of my differentials. It's one of the worst things ever. And now the weird thing for me is some of these kits will say to add the dip fluid up to a certain weight, but I've never really found that to work all that well. So, got a couple other little bits of shock oils and things like that. They want the 15K for the differentials. So that will go into these two here up to a level, and then I have a vacuum pump from Hootie that I will put those into, and I'll keep that vacuum applied to it overnight. To me, that's a standard of what I usually do. Just helps everything really get seated in, because the differential fluid, when you get air into it and things like that, it just doesn't do what it needs to do. I do find it interesting. AE gives you, this is a lot of differential fluid for how tiny these differentials are. But they probably just have their standard size that they provide. If you overfill your differential, it's not going to behave the way it's supposed to behave. So you have to be really aware of just how much you're putting into these things. The stuff needs to be able to move. So, and that's part of the reason for the vacuum chambers, is because it gets everything to really flow through and get to all the different parts, so that I know it's exactly at the level that it needs to be, versus just the weight method. You can do it this way, where you fill it and then you let it sit for 24 hours or what have you, and that's usually sufficient. Me, I just, the way I am. Plus, how cool is this thing? I mean, look at it. This is, I love these. So they give you a little top chamber, and they give you a little bottom chamber. The only drawback, and this is why I have my holder. Yes, my holder. This is on my shop. You can buy it if you want one. Is I can only put one of these in this vacuum chamber at a time. Hootie sells rings like this ring that you can hold multiple shocks at a time. But even in that situation, you're limited to 4. I have so many cars, and lots of people have multiple cars, or they might be changing shocks or building shocks ahead of time so that they have backups they can just throw on and in between heats or what have you. So once this has 4 shocks on it, what do you do? It's yeah, it'll hold them, but once you get beyond that point, or if you have shocks end of differential, end of this, end of that, there's no more room. So that's why I came up with that. So I can vacuum some of them, and then, one at a time or whatever. So they have this little adapter that goes in the bottom, because this is obviously first and foremost for getting the air out of shocks. But they do give you the little adapter to be able to put a single differential in if you wish. Now what I need, you can run this off a couple different voltages. I think it was up to 11 I typically won't push a lemon into it, just because I don't want to burn it up, and I just happen to have this one 2S pack. This is a really weird 2S pack, because for some reason Spectrum put an IC5 connector on a 7.4 volt 30C2S, which to me is overkill. But that's what they did. So, I think I need to... I don't think I have enough charge in this, because it's probably still in storage charge from the last time. Take all this racing stuff and put it off to the side, and then I'm going to plug this in. 52. And the other thing that I definitely need to do is another product that I'm coming up with. Other companies make these, but I want my own. They're balance leads. Spectrum makes some. Example, here you go. But it's sloppy. You look at it, it works, it's functional. But the looming is way loose. It's nice, but it could be done better, in my opinion. So, versus the looming that I have for what I'm going to be working on is this here, which is a much smaller weave. It's much more contained. It still stretches, it still expands to accommodate the wires, but it's much, much cleaner. So, and that'll come in 4 different levels based on, charge rate and things like that. So then that'll go through and that'll be up, and that's going to take me a couple weeks. I still have to source the wires and a couple different things before that's ready to go. So. But I will likely cut this off at the 3-hour mark, as I have to get some sleep. And then I'll start this back up tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna try and finish this car up to the frame aspects. It won't be the electronics won't be in it. That'll be an entirely different day. And then we're gonna move back on to the RC10T and try and get that further along, if not completed. Assuming the toolkit from MIP shows up tomorrow. So that's what we have on the docket. That's what's going to be coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow it'll probably be sometime in the afternoon. I don't have specific schedules down just this minute. So, but definitely sometime in the afternoon Eastern time. I try to do it more, 6 in the afternoon, 7 in the afternoon, something like that. But sometimes it is going to go later. It is going to go earlier. If you go up on the website, it will be up on the website once I narrow down more specifically what time I intend to go live and intend to be in here working on the cars. So just, click refresh. It'll be, if you're on YouTube right now, I'll show you where it's going to be sitting. So if you're on category 6, which is my website, and then there's a couple of different segments in here. I'm going to add a tab sometime tomorrow, probably on my lunch break at my day job, which I'll have a whole listing of live streaming and schedule for the live streams. There is an events page, but this events page is more geared towards track events, things that are coming up. For example, the Team Associated Vintage Race, and then I try to give as many details as I possibly can when you go and click into the actual events and scroll down, and then there's links to Associated's page for the event. I would like to get my hands on one of these days, but I haven't gotten that far yet. So that's what I got for tonight. This has been a fun little 3 hours. And I'm going to try and get to more and try and increase my pace here a little bit if I can, because I definitely have a lot of work to get done. So let's see here. Definitely more than I was expecting. I don't think I've ever done a live on some of my other endeavors, doing stuff where I do live streams where I've hit 5.2 thousand. That's wild for me. So yeah, I'll keep doing them. Why not? And I'm sitting here, building the cars anyway. So, so that's what we got going on. And 2 hours and 57 minutes. So I'm gonna call it a night at that one. I thank everybody who did pop in and did like it. And if you guys have anything that you want to see, if you have any trucks or cars or things that you want me to build or source and try to build and whatever, or if you have a build that's in your attic that's collecting cobwebs that you would like to see somebody put together, feel free. I'll send you my office box or what have you, and you can ship it to me and I'll put it together. And if you live close by and you want me to bring it back to you, I'll bring it back to you. So I love the old stuff. I love putting together some of the vintage cars. It reminds me of my childhood. So it's fun stuff. But again, thank you everybody. I have to go get a couple hours of sleep before I go into work, and I will see you all later on. Bye-bye.